This is going to be a basic overview of CSS, which is short for Cascading Style Sheets. With CSS, you can really control the styling and design of your web pages. So the color, the background colors, the font size, even the font styles, and a whole lot more. You'll see here I have a basic HTML layout, and if we view that in a browser, you'll see there's really nothing to it. It's pretty basic, boring, no coloring. Well, this is where the power of CSS comes in. You can add a style sheet by placing an opening tag and a closing tag within your HTML head tags. And then within that opening and closing style tags, you can add different selectors, which right here, this is an H1 selector. And within those selectors, in between the opening and closing curly brackets, you can add different properties and add different values for those properties. So you'll see here I have two different properties in my H1 selector, a color property, and I'm setting the value of that color property to blue, and I have a font size property, and I'm setting the font size property to the value of 48 pixels. Let's save that and now view the page. Okay, you'll see now I have my headline. It's much larger and it's set to the color blue. So what this styling is doing is it's setting the H1 selector to these properties and values, and it's basically saying look for the H1 tag in my page and set anything that's in between that H1 tag to the property and values that are defined within the selector. Let's add a selector for our paragraph tag. So you'll see here this selector is going to match up to all of my paragraph tags, and it's going to style those. So let's set our paragraph selector, let's give it a property color, and let's set the value of that color property to red. Let's demo that. Okay, now my paragraphs are red. Maybe I want to set the font size to my paragraphs to something a little bit larger. Let's add a font size. Let's, for this demo, also style a div. So let's add a div selector. You notice how I'm not putting a period, so that's telling our HTML page to style all the divs. And actually, let's set the background color of our divs to, gray. And maybe let's add a little padding. And you're going to learn a lot more about the different properties you can add to your selectors in future tutorials. So don't worry too much about that now. But let's add a padding of 10 pixels to our divs. Okay. There we go. Now we have a background color of our divs. And you'll see here there's some padding. And let's take it a little step further and let's style our button too, being that we have a button on our page. So I'm going to add a button selector, and let's add a padding, 20 pixels, font size. Let's make it real big. Background color. And let's make the color white. There we go. Well, our page looks okay. I wouldn't put this in production, but it really demonstrates what you can do with CSS. And just remember, any main element you want to style, you create selectors without anything in front. If you want to style a class name, such as down here, my class, you place a period in front of the selector. If you want to style an ID, you place a pound sign in front of the selector.